It's time again for the Science Bowl.
Zoo Parade for 5. What big teeth the hippo has are actually a pair of these. Science Potpourri for 10. Would a snake most likely eat every day? Every week, Dateline Science for 10. Why are some elephants wearing necklaces these days? Green things for 15.
And now, here's your host, Mr. Z himself, Dave Zarin.
Thank you, and welcome to this special edition of Science Bowl. The two middle schools you're about to meet have won one game already, and today's winner becomes the third semifinalist in this year's middle school competition. Make sure everything works properly here. First of all, let's find out who we've got. From Martin Luther King Jr. Middle School, would you please say hello to Ryan Sokolowski, Michael Stroud, and Christian Nieto. And from Oxon Hill Middle, here they are, Alyssa Morris, Ryan Scotland Mitchell, and Carmela Sambles. Now here are the categories of questions we use on the Science Bowl.
Okay, Mr. Z, here's today's categories. Green things, questions about plants and all things green and growing. Zoo Parade, a Noah's Ark of questions about animals. Body systems, we'll see how much you know about yourself, about things like breathing and growing and digesting your food. Let's get physical. Questions that test your knowledge of physics and chemistry, earth science and space science. Then there's Science Potpourri. Here's a grab bag of science questions, everything from air pollution to the kitchen sink. And finally, Dateline Science. We'll ask you about science history and science in the news.
Here on the Science Bowl, we arrange our game board according to the difficulty of the question. The easier ones are worth 5 and 10. They're on the left, 15, 20, and ultimately 25, the toughest of them all. Both of our teams start out at 50 points. No penalties ever for incorrect answers. End of the 2 rounds today, as we were saying, one of these 2 teams will be the third semifinalist in this year's competition. Let's make sure everything does work. Now, let's go over to Michael, and would you try your buzzer? Thanks, Mike. Good luck to you and to Christian and to Ryan. And Ryan, my other Ryan on Oxon Hill, would you try your buzzer? Thank you, young man. Good luck to you, to Carmela, and to Alyssa. Congratulations, guys, on making it this far in the competition. That really testifies to the skill you bring to this. You are just great students. Let's have a good game. We go alphabetically M before O, so Martin Luther King and Michael, start the bowl, please.
Body systems for 15.
Body systems for 15 points. Teams, there is something called Peto's paradox, which is animals that have fewer cells develop this disease more easily than larger animals with larger cells. It probably would take an oncologist to figure out why. What disease are we talking about? King.
Cancer?
Cancer, absolutely right. Oncology was your clue there. Go red. Thank you, Christian.
Zoo Parade for 15.
Zoo Parade for 15 points, teams. The most famous primate in the world is Coco the gorilla because he learned to do this. What did Coco learn to do, Ryan?
Sign language?
Yeah, he could do sign language. Thanks, Carmela. Nice assist. Go green.
Let's get physical for 15.
Let's get physical for 15 points, teams. If you know Dr. Seuss, you know what oobleck is. It's a mixture of cornstarch and water, and it does all kinds of things. You can squeeze it. You can blow into it. It'll dance on top of a woofer. And this oobleck is known because it is part solid and part liquid as a non-Newtonian what? King.
Fluid.
Yes, sir. Good. Go.
Science Potpourri for 10.
Science Potpourri for 10 points. Teams, Mickey Mouse, Sandy the Squirrel, Remy the Rat from Ratatouille, and Bugs Bunny are all rodents. Not really. Which one isn't a rodent? King.
Bugs Bunny?
Bugs Bunny, that's right. He is a lagomorph. He does not belong to the same order as the other 3, which are indeed rodents. Go red.
Green things for 15.
Green things for 15 points, teams. Your question is as follows. This is a multiple choice question. Some of you might have seen on a refrigerator a little thing called an air plant. You put a magnet on the side and it grows. You never have to do much to it. Is an air plant technically a hydrophyte, a xerophyte, or an epiphyte? Which of those 3 is it, King?
Xerophyte?
Not a xerophyte, an air plant that sits right on your refrigerator with a magnet. Doesn't need anything. Seems to grow. Is it a hydrophyte, a xerophyte, or an epiphyte?
Epiphyte?
It is an epiphyte. Yeah, it's just like an orchid. It takes all of the nutrients it needs right from the air. All right, good answer. 80 to 90, advantage green.
Let's get physical for 25.
Get physical for 25, the big one in that category, teams. On the International Space Station, they are trying to turn urine into drinking water, and they do it. Because gases and liquids don't separate naturally in space, they need a centrifuge to make this initial process work that is off Oxon Hill.
Distillation?
Distillation, absolutely right. I was about to say a term often used with whiskey preparation. Good, green.
Body systems for 10.
Body systems for 10 points, teams. What body organ is also a punctuation mark, an emoticon?
Colon?
King, a colon, absolutely right. Another name for the large intestine. Good answer, Mike. Go.
Mine's potpourri for 15.
Potpourri for 15 points, teams. Plesiosaurs, which are long since extinct, were thought to have had 38 to 42 of these in their neck, which we have Martin Luther King.
Vertebrae?
Vertebrae, absolutely right. Yeah, far more than the mammals of today. All right, 115 to 105. Very tight game. Advantage red.
Let's get physical for 10.
Get physical for 10 points. Teams, amperes, watts, and volts are all units associated with what form? Martin Luther King.
Electricity?
Electricity. That's the form of energy I wanted. Yes, good. Go.
Zoo parade for 10.
Zoo parade for 10 points is a visual question. Look at the monitor in the studio, please. Just a few weeks ago, this mustachioed kingfisher of New Guinea was seen for the first time in 20 years. A species that is so rare that you hardly ever see it has what same name as a phantom that flies around in a sheet. King.
Banshee?
Not a banshee. Good try.
A ghost?
A ghost is the good comeback. It is a ghost species. Yes, indeed. Good. Ryan.
Zoo parade for 20.
Zoo parade for 20 points, teams. The characteristic hourglass, red hourglass on a female black widow spider is found on this part of her body just below the cephalothorax. Martin Luther King.
Abdomen?
Abdomen is right. Yes, sir. Good. Go.
Green thing for 10.
Green things for 10 points. Teams, when guacamole starts turning brown, what green thing oxidized? King.
It's chlorophyll?
Not chlorophyll, no, Oxon Hill. When guacamole starts turning brown, it's because what green thing has oxidized?
Avocado?
Avocado's absolutely right. That's it. Oh boy, was that a fast round. Good round, too. Our score at this juncture is Martin Luther King 145, Oxon Hill 125. Great game. We'll be back with the second part in just a moment. Don't go away.
I started mentoring my mentee, Dantre, 4 years ago. I always thought about doing it. It always seemed like a good idea.
We were both nervous when we first met, but everything kind of fell into place.
Mentoring is important to anyone that's pretty fortunate in life to have a little bit of time to pass on that knowledge.
Etienne's a very close friend. I look at him as a brother and a father figure. He taught me just focus on the big picture because I would like to give back just like Etienne gave back to me. Be someone who matters to someone who matters.
If you're like most families, you probably have video game fans in your home. But not every game is right for every kid, which is where the ESRB ratings come in. They help parents make informed decisions for their kids. And there's an easy-to-use mobile app that gives you detailed info on specific game ratings. Video game consoles have parental controls that you can set to block certain games by age rating, so they get all the fun, and you get peace of mind.
And welcome back to Science Bowl. Boy, a very competitive match today. Just as we expected, as we said at the top of the show, these two teams have won once previously, and most of our players have been here before or had experience, and it certainly shows. Both of these teams have been past champions here. Oxon Hill most recently as last year, and Martin Luther King 3 times in our 30-year history. So these schools have a storied tradition, and these 6 young people are upholding that tradition very well. Let's go to King, find out a little bit about our players in case you missed them the last time they were here. Mike, how many times is this? Is this the 3rd or 4th time you've been on the show?
1, 2, 4.
4th time, and boy, you're a good player over there. A young man who wants to play professional baseball someday, and if that doesn't work out, he's headed to NASA. Maybe he's an engineer. And what do you do in your spare time, Mike?
Well, I play saxophone. I like to build stuff. I like puzzles and games. Yeah. I also like building with Legos. Yeah.
Well, you're a creative kind of guy, and well, you really know your stuff here on the Science Bowl. Tell me, first of all, King, for people at home who don't know, is in Beltsville, Maryland. And who's your principal there?
That's Mrs. Wiltison.
Mrs. Wiltison. And the sponsor of your team?
Mrs. Butler.
Mrs. Butler, who has been a sponsor, a long-time sponsor, and really knows her stuff and really adds an awful lot to the science program. She's an award-winning science teacher, by the way. And tell me, did you have any alternates on your team?
Yes, Rahel and Kevin.
Okay, and they're out there cheering for you. They're yelling the answers out, but we can't hear them here in the studio. You know the answers very well yourself. Let's find out a little bit more about King. Tell me something about King that we don't know that the audience might appreciate.
Well, Martin Luther King in
you know, some of the things that make a school interesting.
Yeah.
Sometimes the food is great, sometimes the extracurriculars are great.
Yeah, well, actually, for the first time this year, Martin Luther King is implementing a program that I've been doing through elementary school called Destination Imagination.
Yeah, DI, absolutely right. Boy, that has a long tradition as well. And you know, you can go to the nationals and the internationals. I know down in Tennessee sometimes is where they have them. Yeah, a good mind game. All right, nice to have you back. Christian, tell us a little bit about your mineral collection. I know you told us on a previous show. Where do you find these minerals?
Well, some I actually find them in my backyard or other places, and then other times I buy them at the gift store at certain museums.
That's wonderful, yeah. And do you have a mineral guide that you refer to identify these things?
No, I identify them myself.
You know them. You're just a very smart guy, which is quite obvious here. And this young man wants to be a part-time psychiatrist. His real job, he wants to go down to Atlanta and work for the Centers for Disease Control. And boy, it's been a busy place with so many things like SARS and Ebola and all these other things that threaten our country here. We need good people like you, Christian. Ryan, nice to have you here, young man who is into video games, and he had a whole list of them, and I didn't know any of them. Can you tell us what some of those are?
Minecraft,
yeah,
Geometry Dash, and Piano Tiles.
All right, I'll take your word for it that these are great games here. What do you want to do when you get older?
I want to do something with computers, like computer modeling or computer design.
That's great. Why do you like this show? Because you've been here before, just as Christian has and Mike.
Yeah, I like science a lot, and this is a fun thing to do, so I just decided to do it.
Yeah, you have to have some fun in life, and hopefully this is fun for you. I know it's competitive, but we want you to have a good time. Nice to have you guys back. Oxon Hill, you guys are cooking with gas, as we used to say here. And when I was much younger, you're really on a roll here. How do you know so much about science, Ryan?
Well, I've had a lot of science teachers over the years, and they're all pretty smart and they know what they're talking about. So.
What a nice thing to say. A nice tribute to Mr. Muniz and some of the other science teachers, because I know he's the sponsor of your team. And Oxon Hill Middle School is in Oxon Hill, of course. And who's your principal?
Mr. Coleman.
Wonderful. And I know what a big supporter he is of you. And Oxon Hill's picture is on the poster this year advertising our Science Bowl because you won the championship. Any alternates on your team?
Christine.
Wonderful. Christine will be out in a few moments. I know how excited she is. And Ryan, tell me, like I was asking Mike, something really cool about Oxon Hill Middle. I know there's some great teachers there, a great principal.
Well, see, we have a lot of performing arts programs and language arts programs, and they're all very great.
Yeah, and so there's opportunities for you guys to be creative, right? And you're headed to the chemistry lab someday, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, you're going to be a good one. And Carmela, nice to see you back, young lady who was on the winning team last year. And you really know your stuff too. How do you keep up on all the science? Because you do.
So Mr. Muniz helped us prepare, and it's just I watch the news with my dad. It just, you can't really miss it.
I know, you can't. It's all around you, isn't it? You can't get through a day without something about science. Just the other day, we're taping this show in October, and they had news that bacon and sausage and hot dogs might cause cancer. I mean, that's something that makes everyone sit up and take notice. You know, and of course they'll have to test it further, but yes, science is everywhere. And you'd like to someday do a lot of different things, right? Like what? I know you're into sports.
Yeah, I like photography and traveling and stuff like that.
Yeah, and of course when you travel you can take photographs too, you know, and send them to people whether they want to see them or not, you know, but I think if they're good, people love them. Alyssa, young lady who's an entrepreneur, how'd you get interested in business?
I have a lot of different people in my family that own businesses, like one of my uncles that doesn't own the trucking company. He owns a Whole Foods.
Yes, wow.
Like, he owns like 2 Whole Foods that are like in different areas, and I see how he works and how like successful he is. I'm like, okay,
you can do this too. Yeah, turning a profit, you know, and profit margin and all that. Yeah, it's a whole, it's a science unto itself. Yeah, I know you'll be successful. Nice to have you back. Let's get back to our game. 125 Oxon Hill, 145 King. All the big points, most of them still available. Start us out, Ryan.
Zoo Parade for 25.
Zoo Parade for 25, the big one in that category, teams. If I told you that whether you're talking about human beings or lions or rhinos or ostriches, that all species, most species, exhibit sexual dimorphism, that would tell you that males and females what? Males and females what? If those species exhibit sexual dimorphism, it tells you that males and females what? What do you think, Michael?
They have to reproduce together.
Not quite. Good try. Sexual dimorphism, just about any animal like the ones I listed there. What does that tell you?
That they have different sex organs?
Not quite. Judges? No. Morpho means shape and di means two. They look different. They look different, like the mane on the lion and the lioness doesn't have it. That was a tough question, but you made a valiant attempt. Try again, Green.
Body systems for 20.
Body systems for 20 points. Teams, if you've ever wondered, is it okay to pee in the ocean? Yes, it is. Because most of your urine, 95% is water, but you're also contributing Na, Cl, and K, 3 elements that are normally found in ocean water. Can you tell me what they are? Na, Cl, and K. Give me all 3. King.
Sodium, potassium, and chlorine.
Sodium, potassium, and chlorine?
You got it. Christian, you whispered those perfect answers into his ear. Well done. Go red.
Let's get physical for 5.
Let's get physical for 5 points. Teams, if you catch a falling star and put it in your pocket, you got yourself a what? You got yourself a what, Ryan?
A wish?
Not a wish. No, remember, let's get physical. If you catch a falling star and put it in your pocket, you got yourself a what, King?
A black hole?
You got yourself a meteorite. A meteorite, another name for a falling star. All right, try again. Red.
Green things for 5.
Green things for 5 points. Teams, NASA's Veggie project finally raised its first vegetable on the International Space Station, the red variety they grew of this leafy King.
Cabbage?
Not cabbage. What kind of leafy vegetable, a red variety of which, did they grow on the International Space Station? What you got, Ryan?
Spinach, maybe?
Lettuce. Lettuce. It was red leaf lettuce. Try again, please. Red.
Let's get physical for 20.
Let's get physical for 20 points as a visual question. Would you look at the monitor, please, students, for this question? That little girl there is having a good time munching on a powdered donut. Problem is, some of the substances in that white powder have possible health consequences, especially TiO2. O2 is dioxide. Ti is what chemical element? What is Ti, King?
Titanium?
Yes, sir. Titanium dioxide, it keeps everything from clumping together, and we're concerned because it's in Jawbreakers, it's in Pop-Tarts, and it is in powdered donuts. Go red.
Zoo Parade for 5.
Zoo Parade for 5 points. Teams, the prairie gopher that lives in the South is definitely a mammal. But the people in the South, because of the way they talk, make it sound like gopher is an amphibian because they call that gopher a soil mounder, which sounds a lot like what, King?
Salamander?
Salamander, yeah. We got some salamanders out there talking about the gophers. Go.
Body Systems for 5.
Body Systems for 5 points. Teams, this skin reaction to fear has what same name? Oxon Hill?
Goosebumps?
Goosebumps, as the R.L. Stein books that are now in movie form. Yes, sir, go green.
Body Systems for 25.
Body Systems 25, big one in that category. Teams, Deshaun Jackson, wide receiver for the Washington Redskins, had a hamstring injury recently. The hamstring is a tendon that helps to move what two joints? What two joints?
Knee
The hamstring. Tell me.
Knee and hip.
Knee and hip. Got them both. Good. Go. Green.
Green things for 25.
Green things for 25. Big one in that category. Teams, the larch tree is unusual. It's an evergreen, but every year it drops all of its needles. So it has what kind of oxymoronic name? It's a what, King?
The deciduous tree?
Not quite. Not quite. Oxon Hill, this large tree that is an evergreen and drops its needles every year, has what kind of oxymoronic name? An oxymoron is something like a jumbo shrimp. You know, they don't go together. It's a deciduous conifer because normally they are separate. Try again, green.
Green things for 20.
Green things for 20 points. Teams, if you crossbreed a western dewberry and a red raspberry, you get a loganberry. Because it had two different parents, it's known as a what? Oxon Hill?
A hybrid?
A hybrid, yeah. Good. Green. Where, sir?
Science potpourri for 20.
Potpourri for 20 points. Teams, your question is a multiple choice. Some of the vitamins that we take are hydrophobic, which means they dissolve easily in water. King.
They are soluble in water?
No. Oxon Hill. These vitamins, some of which are hydrophobic, do they dissolve easily in water, not dissolve in water, or become more potent in water?
Not dissolve in water?
They do not. They're hydrophobic. Absolutely. Good comeback. All right. Go green.
Science potpourri for 25.
Potpourri for 25. Big one in that category. Score. Oxon Hill 195. 190, King. This is the big one in the potpourri category. A can of evaporated milk is so named because 60% of the water has been removed from the milk. But it also is called this kind of milk, which is the opposite of King.
Condensed milk?
Yes, it's evaporated condensed milk. Absolutely right. Good. Red.
Science potpourri for 5.
Potpourri for 5 points. Teams, if you're baking 3 batches of chocolate chip cookies and one uses cold butter, one room temperature butter, and one melted butter, and you say, I think the one with melted butter is going to make the biggest cookie, you've just made a what, Ryan?
A hypothesis.
Yes, sir. Good. Green, go.
Dateline science for 25.
Dateline for 25 points. Teams, some of the makeup that people use for their Halloween costumes contains cobalt and nickel, some other dangerous chemicals, but the FDA has no control over cosmetics, so we don't know what we're putting on. What is the FDA? King.
The Food and Drug Administration?
Yes, sir. Good. Go.
Dateline science for 5.
Dateline science for 5 points. One of the rovers on the planet Mars is named for this quality that is said to, yes, King.
Curiosity?
Curiosity that killed the cat. Yes, red.
Dateline science for 10.
Dateline science for 10 points. The unit for measuring the intensity of radioactivity is named for this scientist who discovered radium. King.
Marie Curie?
Absolutely. They're known as Curies. 2 questions left. Yes, sir.
Dateline science for 15.
Dateline science for 15 points. Right now there is an auction on eBay to give a scientific name to a newly discovered moth. It will have to, though, follow the rules set by what Swedish botanist who named all the animals and plants, Ryan? What you got? It's on the tip of his tongue. King, do you know? The Swedish botanist who set the rules for naming plants and animals. Carolus Linnaeus. Linnaeus was the answer. Last question of the game, 20 points. Coral reefs are now being threatened by this substance that has a high SPF value that is washing into the ocean from people's skin. Ryan?
Sunscreen.
Sunscreen is exactly right. And with that, we come to the end of a high-scoring and very competitive game. We will be right back. Don't go away.
Minds can achieve anything. We make sure they get to college. Federal student aid provides more than $150 billion in grants, loans, and work-study funds to make college possible for anyone with the mind to get there. Because if given the chance, minds will do great things. Federal Student Aid, proud sponsor of the American Mind. Learn more about money for college at studentaid.gov.
Welcome back. Boy, what a great game here today. These young people here, the elite students of Prince George's County, when it comes to science, they know it. Our final tally today is Oxon Hill 220, Martin Luther King Jr. 255. Congratulations, Christian and Michael and Ryan, and also to Kevin and Rahel and Miss Butler. You are our third semifinalist. Let's give them a hand. Give them a hand. And let's also have a nice hand for the Oxon Hill team. What a game you had. Alyssa and Ryan and Carmela, beautiful. You came back. That lead kept going back and forth. And Christine, I know you wanted it to go another way. Don't look so glum over there. It's a great team. And Titus, thank you so much, Mr. Muniz, for all you do. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time on Science Bowl. Bye-bye.